Good evening, everyone. It's so good to be with you. So, this gospel for Sunday, Matthew's gospel, is part of the Sermon on the Mount. And Matthew's telling the story of Jesus on the hill, instructing his disciples on the Beatitudes, this message that contradicts all of society's norms about who we consider is blessed. It's a revolutionary message. And then comes this short, inspiring, and daunting message about salt and light. As disciples of Jesus, these two passages together seem seminal to my understanding of who we are as followers. Jesus turns to the disciples, us, and says, "You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of the world." These words are spoken with great love and also with a warning. Love and a warning. I hear Jesus speaking to us as God who is parent to us all, reminding us not to forget who we are at our core. I think of an interaction I had with my daughter this week. It's freezing here in South Bend. She's 16. She's always running late to school, running out the door to drive to school, no jacket on. Again, it's 10 degrees. It's very cold. So I'm yelling at her, "Lucy, it's freezing outside. You're going to hit a patch of ice on the road. You're going to slide off into a ditch. No one's going to see you. You're going to freeze to death and you will die." So I don't know if you ever resort to exaggeration or a little bit of drama, but I do that when I'm worried about my kids. And I see Jesus doing a similar thing here. He's, in a way, threatening the disciples, saying, if salt loses its taste, with what can it be seasoned? It's no longer good for anything but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot. He's telling us, don't forget who you are. You're here to be salt seasoning that brings out the God flavors of this earth. If you lose your saltiness, how will people taste godliness? Be careful not to dilute who you are. No one can take your place. And it's interesting because salt cannot be destroyed unless it's chemically altered. So there's hope for us. Even when we feel like we've lost ourselves, we cannot be destroyed. So how do we keep, como dicen en español, our chispa, keep that alive? How do we preserve our saltiness, our vim, and our chispa? Only we can do that, and we need each other. Jesus tells us, you're here to be light, bringing out the God colors in the world. God is not a secret to be kept. If I made you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? Such hopeful words, but it also feels like a lot of pressure. There's a sense of vulnerability, implying that we're exposed, feeling naked for all the world to see. And I have to be honest, there are many days when I don't feel bright and I'm just fine with hiding under a bushel. But let's consider light in the context of darkness as the foundation of all of creation. God creates light from the darkness, salt of the earth, nature, life, emerges from the dark dirt of the ground. We are born from the darkness of the womb. The birth of all life comes from this darkness. Light is part of the darkness, intimately connected to the nature of our being, our very existence. One without the other is not possible. We are called forth into life, called into light. God is the source of our light and our life. Jesus isn't asking us to be shiny or fancy, but rather to live into the fullness of our being, to serve as a sign of God's loving presence in the world. The light is always there. This is where I see its emergence. Discerning Deacons is a city on a hill for me. Learning about this movement, my heart stirred with joy. The Holy Spirit is alive in this community of women here in South Bend and around the world. And I'm humbled to be a part of this group. Its work and advocacy reveals the light of women in our church, removing the bushel basket and speaking the truth about women's call to ministry. And Pope Francis recently calling for a commitment to decriminalize all of our LGBTQ+ brothers and sisters. He is revealing their light and a need for systemic change. During COVID, I was privileged to be part of a Zoom church where lay and religious people reflected on the gospel each week together, and the gifts of our community were in full display. It was energizing and unifying. The reflections of lay people profoundly moved us. Similarly, I never fully appreciated the wisdom and humor of our Holy Cross sisters, who I prayed with at Mass for years, until they started preaching during our Zoom liturgies. What a gift to share in the light of our community. There are endless areas where our calling to be light in the world is needed. Bringing to light police violence in our communities in this country. Being present to the people of Pakistan, Peru, Ukraine, along our border. The list is endless where our collective light can work together to bring God's peace, love, and justice into this world. Jesus's message is urgent. I'd like to share with you now an image I created in art therapy after our baby daughter died. In that process of grieving, light was born out of a deep darkness. It was personal, but it was also communal. Our daughter became a light to others as well, letting them know that deep in darkness, there is light, there is hope. God, our Creator, holds all of us together. And God said, if I made you light bearers, you don't think I'm going to hide you under a bucket, do you? I'm putting you on a light stand. Now that I've put you there on a hilltop, on a light stand, shine and be generous with your lives.